Alright guys, welcome back. So I've been analysing faces and helping people improve their physical attraction for nearly 4 years now. So quite a long time, and over these years I've discovered something that most people completely miss about physical attraction. And that's the fact that it's not random, it's not subjective, and it's definitely not just genetics. Over these years, I've identified 3 fundamental pillars that determine facial attraction. And most people are working against these pillars without even realising it. Most looks maxing advice that you receive online is actually going to hurt your appeal. And that's because it's generic advice. And I've seen countless cases where the advice given has pushed someone's facial harmony further out of balance, making them less attractive than when they started. And that's because improving physical attraction is not a one-size-fits-all approach. What enhances one person's features can completely throw off someone else's and ruin their appeal. And this is why I developed my 3-pillar framework. And today I'm going to break down these pillars and show you why becoming attractive isn't a coincidence. It's about understanding your unique facial structure and making intentional, justified changes. What you're about to learn is based on years of practical experience and real results. And by the end of this video, you'll fully understand why most people aren't anywhere near their potential and how to unlock yours. But before we get into this, why does it really matter? Well, fundamentally, physical attraction changes how people treat you. It's not just about looking good. It's going to impact your social, sexual, and professional opportunities because it's a known fact that attractive people get more of these opportunities because they're perceived as more confident, more competent, and more trustworthy. And so they generally live much easier lives. And I'm not saying physical attraction is the only important thing in life. It's an incredibly powerful aspect of life, and it can be easily improved with intentional changes. And the word intentional is really important here. So the first pillar of attraction is facial harmony. And this is the most important pillar when it comes to attraction, and the one that most people don't really understand. The second is dimorphism, and more specifically, the balance of both masculine and feminine features. And finally, health, which is a powerful multiplier for the other pillars. And these pillars work together symbiotically. You can't just maximize one and expect insane results. Balance is really important here, and I'll show you exactly what that means. So if we start with facial harmony, this is the most important pillar, and it's not about having perfect individual features, it's about how well your features work together. And most people don't realize that there are over 150 components of the face and physical attraction. And quite often, generic advice that you receive online will typically ruin your facial harmony. You'll often receive advice like get a haircut or have you tried growing a beard? But when people give this advice, they're not really considering your unique facial structure. And a lot of these changes can make you less attractive by pushing your harmony further out of balance. And the brain instantly recognizes this disharmony, even if you can't really pinpoint why consciously. And the key here is that perception is reality when it comes to facial attraction, and you can influence how people perceive your facial harmony through intentional changes. There was this popular trend like 5 years ago where people with large foreheads would slowly pull up their fringe, revealing their forehead. And this is a really good example of how perception is reality, because whilst watching these videos, you would never expect these guys and girls to have these big foreheads because they've concealed this facial flaw and balanced their facial harmony. All right, let's move on to the second pillar, and this is where most people get things wrong. There's this widespread myth that more masculine equals more attractive, and this is not true. So dimorphism is the biological differences between male and female faces, and it's driven by hormonal influences from puberty and continues to evolve throughout our lives. And it's the only way to signal high sexual maturity. If we're looking at masculine features, we're talking about things like broader jaw width, more pronounced brow ridge, narrower eyes, for example. And for feminine features, we're talking about things like fuller lips, larger eyes, softer jawline, for example. The thing is, most universally attractive male faces, they don't max out in either direction here. They have what I like to call a robust blend of both masculine and feminine features. And if you think about the most attractive actors and celebrities, they always have this balance. Alain Delon is a perfect example of this. He had larger, more feminine eyes, which were balanced out by his denser, more masculine eyebrows. This really balances eye area perfectly. He also had high set cheekbones and slightly softer lower third definition, and this was balanced out by his masculine jaw and neck width. What you should be trying to achieve is universal appeal, and this means being attractive to the majority of people rather than niching yourself down to a smaller demographic. So the third and final pillar of attraction is health. Your face broadcasts signals about your health all the time, and others subconsciously and consciously pick up on these signals. And health is universal. There are certain features that consistently signal good health across all cultures. Some key health indicators for attraction include facial leanness, lack of bloating, skin clarity, absence of premature aging, healthy skin tone, hydration, minimal dark eye circles, thick, healthy hair, bright, clear eyes, full, healthy lips, dense eyebrows, and healthy dentition. These indicators send powerful subconscious signals about your health. But the key thing to understand here is that health acts as a multiplier and it enhances your existing facial harmony and dimorphism. So focusing on health alone is unlikely to give you really, really good results. And I've had countless clients who are incredibly healthy looking, but they just weren't as attractive as they wanted to be. And this is because they are missing the two other pillars, which are far more important. So let me share with you a case study here, and this is going to be within the facial harmony pillar, and it's going to be looking at a specific aesthetic concern. So try and see if you can notice the issue. You can pause the video if you want to. So this guy has a longer perceived face, and there are some ways to confirm this. So firstly, we look at the mid-face ratio, which is the relation between the interpupillary distance and the pupil to upper lip distance. The ideal ratio is equal distances between the two, or 1:1. When you go below 1, you start looking like you have a longer face, and when you go above 1, you're starting to look like you have a shorter face or an overly compact face. So what options does he have? In 9 out of 10 cases of longer faces, the individual has a thin upper lip. So what we can do is increase the volume of this upper lip slightly. And you can do this either with topical volufiline or a subtle upper lip filler. And you don't want to be going above 0.3 milliliters here. Otherwise, it's not going to look very good. Second option you have is a light stubble or a short beard. And this reduces the gap between the tip of your nose and your upper lip. And when you close this gap, you're reducing the overall perceived length between the pupils and the upper lip, making your face seem more compact. The third thing you can do is add width or perceived width to your head size. And you can do this with moderate length hair, ensuring that you have hair around the ears. And what this does is it counteracts the length of the face by adding this perceived width to the head and improves your facial harmony. So the last thing he can do is increase his jaw width. And the best way to do this is by targeting the masseter muscle, which is the muscle that's responsible for chewing, by elevating the mandible bone. And resisted chewing is the best way to hypertrophy this muscle. So the best way to add resisted chewing to your routine is by including harder foods like beef chuck or flank steak. And for more consistency, you can chew high volumes of gum, which you can keep cold for added resistance, but you should completely avoid mastic or phalange gum. And make sure you're chewing properly. So you want to be doing slow, controlled chewing, focusing on the backs of your molars to avoid activation of the buccinator muscle. With overtime and overactivation will cause a more rounded looking face, which is definitely not what you want. Check the first link in the description to see how I personally did this myself with a step-by-step guide, and it's completely free. And I'm going to be covering more aesthetic concerns in future videos, so make sure you subscribe to see those. Before you make a change or think about adding something to your routine, you should ask yourself, which pillar does this fit into and why exactly will it improve the way I look? So there are a few myths that I want to address, and this is because it's causing a lot of misconception and holding a lot of people back from improving themselves. The first one is symmetry, and most people obsess over getting perfect symmetry, but this is really unrealistic. The truth is, even the most attractive people in the world have slight asymmetry. It adds character to the face. So wanting perfect mirror image symmetry is not something you should be going for. Symmetry is important and it fits in with facial harmony, but it's more important to have an average of good symmetry rather than perfect symmetry. The second myth is that good health alone is going to make you really attractive. And this is not true. As mentioned previously, I've had clients who are just still not quite getting there in terms of being as attractive as they want to be. And that's because they're lacking in the two other pillars, which are far more important. There are lots of examples of people showing lower signals of health, but they still have that appeal and attraction there. And that's because they have good facial harmony and good dimorphism. And there's a difference between perceived health and actual health. And this is a really interesting topic, so I'll make it a future video. The last thing is that genetics is everything. This is not true. Genetics may set your baseline, but the gap between your baseline and your true potential is a lot larger than most people think. The truth is that most people can reach top 10% appeal when they know exactly what changes to make. And the really interesting thing about all of this is how predictable it is when you follow a systematic approach. The key is small intentional changes that compound into major shifts in appearance over time. So yeah, anyone can improve, attractive or not. You don't need an attractive baseline. I've helped people with unattractive baselines become attractive. You just have to make changes that are actually going to be helpful for your unique facial structure, features, harmony, dimorphism, and perceived health. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. And if you want to see more content on these topics, then make sure you subscribe. All right, I'll see you in the next one.